John Moss, George Hart, Charles Humphreys, Samuel Harris, and Charles Miller. 5 lynchings occurred in the Lee County area between 1886 and 1932. Lynching is defined as the extrajudicial mob killing of an individual, especially a black individual, for a real or perceived crime without trial. In Lee County, 5 people are known to have been lynched. Between 1882 and 1968, 4,743 people were lynched in the United States. This memorial is proposed to bring justice to and memorialize the victims of lynching in Lee County. In 1886, John Moss and George Hart were working on the Waldrop family property when Edmund Waldrop Jr. went missing. John Moss, while helping with the search, found Waldrop's body, and both he and Hart were accused of murder. Both men fled. Moss was found in Wetumpka and then brought to Waverly. That evening, November 3rd, he was hung at the Cannon Church. Hart was found while he was fleeing Birmingham and was taken to jail 20 days later. When the public found out, another white mob brought him to the same church and lynched him on November 5, 1887. On March 18, 1900, Charles Humphreys was accused of sneaking into the room of a white girl. The next morning, the white girl's father led a mob to Humphreys' house. They proceeded to shoot him 40 times. On November 3, 1900, the Meadows family was attacked in their home. Samuel Harris was accused because he had soot on his hands and face, and his fingerprints appeared to be matched with fingerprints found on the crime scene. A mob of 125 white men brought Harris to Catherine Meadows. After she claimed he was the man who attacked them, the mob tortured and shot Harris. Harris's family was accused of being accomplices without evidence. The last lynching in the Lee County area took place in 1932 during the Depression. On June 29, 1932, Charles Green Miller uncharacteristically went to his brother-in-law's home and shot a single round into the washtub that injured the hand of his in-laws. Later, Sheriff Buck Jones came to check on Miller at his home. Miller shot Sheriff Jones after Jones opened the door to Miller's home. Miller then fled from his house. After getting wind of what happened, a white mob hunted Miller down. 2 hours later, Miller was found. The white mob then shot Miller 50 to 150 times. His body was then put on display on the courthouse lawn. No one was charged for any of the lynchings in the Lee County area. The proposed memorial will be outdoors, in the empty lot next to the Charles Miller house. There will be 5 blue Bahia granite obelisks arranged in a semicircle, each representing a victim of lynching. The blue of the granite represents justice. The semicircle was chosen to represent openness and community. Each obelisk will be inscribed with the name and story of a victim. In the center of the semicircle, there will be a plaque that will include a definition and explanation of lynching. There will be a riverstone path from the plaque to each obelisk. The pathways are necessary to move around the center in an orderly fashion and to prevent destruction of the property. The riverstone is representing how the black community has continued to evolve despite the hardships they have been facing. In between the obelisks, there will be flower beds filled with cornflowers and black-eyed Susans to represent justice. There will also be wooden benches for people to sit and reflect. The choice of oak wood for the wooden benches was chosen to represent the strength of these individuals. This Justice Center could possibly be funded by donations, fundraisers, appealing to the Parks and Recreation, or Community Relations departments of the Opelika City government to see if they could fund it using tax money, and applying for any equal justice grants. The legacy of racism continues today, as do extrajudicial killings of black individuals over perceived crimes. In February of 2020, Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed while jogging through a neighborhood. The justification given was that he looked like a burglar. In the summer of 2020, Black Lives Matter protests were sparked after George Floyd, a black man, was killed by police after being accused of forging a $20 bill. The case of Charles Miller bears striking similarity to the case of Breonna Taylor. Plainclothes police entered her home without announcing themselves as police and shot her after her boyfriend brought out a gun, assuming their home was being broken into. Though great strides have been made, racial justice in America has not yet been realized. Memorializing our history serves as a reminder of how far we have come and how far we have left to go. The 5 lynchings in Lee County and the thousands of lynchings in the U.S. as a whole was a precursor for what was to come in the future. Despite previous lynchings, the U.S. is still adapting to the racial injustice that was frequent in their past, and lynchings of the past can often be connected or share similarities to protests and police brutality that are present today. The proposed memorial will bring awareness to these subjects of lynchings and how they connect to racial social issues of today, and bring justice to and memorialize the victims of lynchings.